Hello, authors, book lovers, and storytellers. Welcome to another session here in Readers Magnet's featured author interview. My name is Leah, and I will be your host for today. And with me is one of the Readers Magnet's featured author, and of course, one of the most valuable author we have. And we are very glad and honored that we are given this opportunity to discuss with her, to know her more information about as an author, what this book is all about, and of course, what inspired her to write this book. So, everyone, let's all welcome our one and only Ms. Elizabeth Clamon, author of the book Beauty Rising from Brokenness. Hi, Elizabeth. How are you doing? It's good to see
Hi,
you.
you too. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, of course. Me too. Actually, the whole Readers Magnet family is very excited to have this discussion with you right now. Especially again, we're hearing a lot of positive things coming from your project manager, your publishing and marketing consultant, Florine, and they're very glad and happy that you're already in this platform. So
I am
yes,
too.
thank you so much for that, Elizabeth. So here, before we go over the details about your book, why don't you maybe give us a little bit of self-introduction? So we wanted to know who Elizabeth Clamon is.
Well, I am, believe it or not, an avid motorcycle riding grandma of six, a
Wow.
mother of three, a military spouse for 34 years, traveling all over the world with my husband. And I love to read and I love to write. And mostly what I love is to speak from stages. That is my favorite thing to do because I love interacting with an audience before, after, during. It's what gives me energy. And so I
Mm,
absolutely love that. This book is about the journey through my childhood and how what it caused in my adult life and so forth. And then I have another book that is written that comes after this one, and so we'll have a book two coming out soon as well. So, like I said,
oh,
and I probably have about 4 or 5 more books in me at least.
wow, that is amazing. That is interesting, Elizabeth. Thank you so much for sharing that one to us. And wow, I like it. A woman with grandmother and host who's also, traveling the world together with her husband. Wow, that's lovely. Thank you so much
Yes,
for that, Elizabeth.
he retired a year ago, and we moved into an RV. So we are full-time RVers living the laptop lifestyle from wherever we're at.
Wow, that's cute. Thank you so much for that, Elizabeth. So yes, it's now time to know more information about your book. So yes, now Elizabeth, I wanted to start with the title, "Beauty Rising from the Brokenness." From brokenness. So yeah, can you tell us what is this book is all about? Um, what's the inspiration behind you writing this whole story?
Oh, Beauty Rising from Brokenness is my story, and the subtitle is My Journey Through Childhood Trauma and Chronic Illness and into Healing. And that doctor in front of my name is a degree in naturopathic medicine, so in natural healing. So when I encountered the repercussions of my childhood, and my childhood was very chaotic and very traumatic, and I suffered every kind of abuse during my childhood. When I got into my 30s, it all surfaced as chronic illness. And a lot of people don't know that traumas can cause chronic illness later in your life. And it doesn't have to be a big trauma. Even small traumas that we encounter can cause us to have chronic illness. And chronic illness, especially autoimmune illnesses, diabetes, heart disease, those can all be
Mhm.
from unresolved trauma, can trigger those in your later years. So I went through and wrote this book as a way to help people, who help myself and also help other people who have had traumas, who have gone through traumatic situations and want to know how to heal that. And I have a six-part coaching program that I developed from this book called Rising, RISING. And we use those letters to go through the steps in the program to help them tell their story, then discover the um, traumas that they may have encountered, discover what may be resulting from those traumas, and then healing those, and walking in freedom. And so I wrote this is a it's a self-help for me, because writing your story, people don't understand, but getting that story out of you and onto paper or video or audio, what however you can tell that story, it helps you process it and heal it. And then also I use natural healing techniques to heal physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, and we'll walk through all of
Wow.
those in the book as well.
Wow, that is awesome. Thank you so much for that, Elizabeth. And you know what? I really like how you created this book because it's actually not just sharing your story, but it's also advocating for a specific cause and agenda. To not be afraid to talk about this as soon as possible, especially with someone who is also experiencing the same, experience you had before. Because
Yes.
again, really, we really need to talk about this as soon as possible. Because if not, then yeah, it could really lead to a serious mental health disorder. And it really needs to have an awareness. Facing this trauma tend to have intense, let's say, disturbing thoughts and feelings related to their experiences that last long after that traumatic event, right? Has Wow,
Yes, that
this is
post-traumatic
amazing.
stress syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody thinks of PTSD as being something that soldiers have when they go to war and come back. But you can have PTSD from any
Mm-hmm.
traumatic instance in your life. And I tell people you don't
Absolutely.
have to have, like I grew up in an abusive home, but you don't have to have anything like that. One trauma
Mm-hmm.
that I experienced as a young person in my probably 17, I had this dream of being a country singer, and I was going to go to Nashville and be a country singer. And I was singing along with the radio in the car. And a friend of mine, I said, I'm going to do that one day. And she said, maybe you need to get another dream. And she just said it from being a teenager. And teenagers sometimes we say things that come out of our mouth that we didn't intend to.
Mm-hmm.
But that
Exactly.
affected me to the point that I did not sing in
Mm-hmm.
public for 30 years because of that one comment. So it can even be a little tiny trauma like that that was so not intended, but it changes you. It limits your belief in yourself and in what you can do, and causes you to draw back into yourself and not share what it is that you're passionate about with the world.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Wow, I really like it, Elizabeth, because again, it's not just about understanding the people who has this kind of condition, but we also need to like raise a better understanding towards them that this is why it is very helpful to have, let's say, the right family, friends, someone that plays a very important role in this, whole treatment, right? This is why,
Yes.
I must say that mental health professionals, you know I would highly recommend or encourage patients with, PTSD to really tell others about their condition, and it's really very helpful for you to have that right people, right? Now,
Yes.
exactly.
A
Now,
lot of people
Elizabeth.
will go to their mother or their best friend, and I always tell
Mm-hmm.
them, be sure you choose somebody that's not going to be go talking about you behind your back, because that's the
Mm-hmm.
last thing you need is more PTSD. So you need to change. Like you said, I went to a professional therapist and I went through
Exactly.
therapy with her, but I also
Mm-hmm.
coach people, and I have worked with several coaches that also help me. And it's always important to find somebody that's been through something similar to what you've been through or going through.
Exactly. Wow. Thank you so much for that, Elizabeth. Now, Elizabeth, I know that this whole story is also based on your experience, right? And I must say that there must have been, let's say, emotional triggers as you were writing. And how did you handle all of that?
I cried a lot and I got angry again quite often,
Mm-hmm.
because you go through all the same emotions that you go through with grief. And you're grieving the loss of that childhood that should have been all rainbows and sunshine, and it wasn't. And so that's what I discovered in my process, was that the my it surfaced as chronic fatigue syndrome, asthma, and severe bronchitis. And in my studies as a naturopath, I learned that traditional Chinese medicine says that grief manifests in the airways. So I was grieving all of those things that I went through in my childhood, and it was difficult. Writing it was difficult, but it was healing, because once you get it out of you and you get it on paper or however, and I tell people you don't have to be a writer. You can. I wrote every. I've written. I've I've written 3 books, and I've been a part of 10 books now as far as collaborations and things like that. And I have written every one of them on the notes on my iPad. So I didn't have to have a big fancy program or anything. There's
Mm-hmm.
voice recorders. You can talk into your phone. You can video like this. And I just was counseling with a lady the other day, coaching her. And she said that she sat down in front of her computer and just said, okay, I was born in 1945, and just started from there and went. And she said, because she just wanted to leave a record for her family so that they knew
Mm-hmm.
her story and what she'd gone through. And that's just, it's so amazing. And it's hard. And there were times I put the book down, and or put my iPad down that I was writing on, and had to go and do something else, or had to do breathing exercises, or go for a walk, because you need to, when you're bringing all those things up, you don't want to overwhelm yourself. And so you need to
Exactly.
take a break and do something different, something that feeds your spirit. Because that
Wow.
oftentimes when you're writing takes away from your spirit, because you're reliving all of that as you're writing. And it's not an easy process, but one that's well
Mm-hmm.
worth doing.
Exactly. Wow. I really like it, on how to acknowledge these ups and downs can also bring us closer to, to the parts of ourselves that really needs attention, that really needs attention. Let's say validation would also makes us feel grateful, grateful for whatever we have in our lives, having both of these things to also, let's say, help our lives to stay grounded. And, it's actually very helpful as well to have that keeping a positive attitude in the midst of challenges, be conscious of your thoughts, the thoughts, because again thoughts are very powerful. It could either break
Yes.
you or make you, and how to practice
Yes.
gratitude, because in the end we all have something to be thankful for,
Oh,
surrounded yourself with
absolutely.
people, exactly, things that are very supportive, for you to have that positive attitude. Wow, and that's lovely. And yes, Elizabeth, that being said, for this whole journey of you writing this book, I can tell that this is really a successful creation. You sharing this experience, the story, especially knowing that this is journey is not an easy one, because it really brings back a lot of things, memories from the past, right? Now we wanted to
Yes.
know, where was the courage coming from? What was the, let's say, the effect of you writing this whole book to you and to your loved ones?
Um, the courage came from my faith, because I have
Wow.
a deep faith in God. And I knew that He wanted me to tell this story and to help other people, and help especially other women who have been
Mhm.
through similar traumas. And my family was extremely supportive of me writing this. And as I was writing, I would ask my husband to read it and review some of the chapters, to tell me if he thought it flowed and it sounded good. And there were many times where he had to just put it down and walk away, because of the emotions it evoked for him,
Mhm.
knowing what I went through, and then also reliving what I call the ultimate brokenness, when in my 30s, when I was so sick, and I finally started speaking. I had not spoken about the abuse out loud. I knew it, it wasn't a
Mhm.
repressed memory or anything, but I had this crazy idea that if I didn't say anything, it didn't really happen. It didn't really exist. And when and it's like having a beach ball, and you hold it under the water. At first it's really easy to hold it down. It's the same thing with those emotions and traumas. You hold them down, and then it gets more buoyant, and it keeps coming up, and you keep pushing it down, and eventually it just comes up, and you can't push it in anymore. And it came out for me. I hate this, but I talk about it in the book, that I felt like I was a volcano. One minute I was sitting in a rocking chair in my room, rocking and
Mhm.
staring at the wall and crying, and the next minute I was just like a volcano spewing hot lava on everyone. Unfortunately, that everyone was my husband and children, because they lived in the house with me. And so, they witnessed it firsthand. And I always
Mhm.
felt so bad about that. But now that my children are grown, one of my daughters has a stepdaughter, and she had to walk her through some things from her childhood. And she said, Mom, watching you go through what you went through, and watching your healing, helped me know how to take care of her. And that
Wow.
just, as a grandma,
Priceless.
and you
Mhm.
just priceless, and brings tears to your eyes because you think it's worth it. It was worth it if I can help one other person, but it's really where I can help my granddaughter be a whole, full,
Exactly.
healed person. Then it's worth it. But I hate that I reacted that way. But those emotions have to come out, and when we've held them down for so long, it's like a volcano that's been dormant for many years, and when it explodes, it goes everywhere. So
Exactly. Wow. That is amazing, Elizabeth. We're actually getting emotional in here. Wow, thank you so much for sharing that. And you
I
know what?
will
I
not
really
cry.
like
I will not cry.
Yeah, me too. I'm not gonna cry.
No, just do this. This is
Yes.
the Southern thing. You just fan yourself. There you
Wow.
go. You're a Southerner.
Yes. Thank you so much for that, Elizabeth. And you know what? I really like how you also highlighted faith, Faith, because again, we all know that faith speaks the language of the heart. It's actually the
Yes.
expression, let's say, of hope, new beginnings, and that really goes beyond our conscious mind. And wow, that's amazing because
I
having
agree
faith.
completely.
Yes. And you know what, Elizabeth, I can tell that, having faith in difficult times can also allow us to really find that peace in God's presence. Because that
Yes.
is one of the most important thing, when you are unfaithful, it can harden your heart with pride. But and because you also need to grow a distant relationship with Him, learning to give up all your struggles and problems to God can lift a heavy burden of yourself. Wow, that's
Yes, and I
amazing.
tell I tell people that God gave us choices. We get to
Hmm.
choose, and we can choose to let these things make us better, so that we can help other people, or make us bitter, so that we're angry always. And I
Hmm.
choose better. I choose better because other people need to see that it's possible to come through that and still be standing on your feet, and still be able to say, God is good. Even though things were bad, God is still good.
Wow, amazing. Exactly. I couldn't agree more on that, Elizabeth. Now, I really also wanted you to take this opportunity, Elizabeth, in your own words. How do you think that, writing this kind of books, empowers individuals, especially to women, to women out there who, let's say, who also experience the same thing, to, let's say, really have that courage in sharing their experiences on not to be afraid and uncovering things from the past.
Yes, I mean, because it's like that beach ball analogy. If you
Mhm.
keep it buried, you can't heal it. It just gets infected, and then it gets worse and worse. So you have to be able to go in. And I heard a famous speaker one time say, the only way out is through. The only way out of the pain is to walk back through it and heal it. And it's so true. You have to be able to recreate that. And I work with women all the time in my
Mhm.
coaching, that write, but they don't want to publish it like I did, or they don't want to share it
Exactly.
with the world, and that's their choice. That's okay. It's their story. They get to choose what they want to do with it,
Mhm.
but they need to write it or record it or get it out in some way, and go back in and discover those areas of maybe where there's a wound that needs to be healed, so that it doesn't get infected and you don't get to the point of that volcano. So it's not easy to do, but it's so worth it. And the freedom that you get on the other side is just amazing. I felt like that, well, when I wrote it, it was hard going through the process. And then when having my family read it and proof it was hard. The hardest part was sending it to the editor, because I
Mhm.
felt like I was giving my first newborn baby to a stranger that didn't know me, didn't know my story, and might not take care of it. He might not
Mhm.
take care of my
Exactly.
baby. And I didn't, and that was really hitting that send button to the editor
Mhm.
was the hardest part for me, because I always knew in 2002 God told me that he wanted me to speak and to teach and to encourage women and
Mhm.
empower women to tell their stories. So I knew what my end goal was. He doesn't tell us all the steps in between, and he didn't tell me about this book. He didn't even tell me I was going to be a writer. I don't I was a bookkeeper. I did numbers my whole entire life. So writing was not natural to me. And I tell people that I can't spell to save my life, but I have written and been in 5 international best-selling books. And the way that
Wow,
you get from I
amazing.
can't spell to 5 international best-selling books is tools. Tools are so important. Grammarly
Hmm.
for spell checking and Microsoft Word, those are the tools that you use. You need the same thing when you're going through a process of
Hmm.
healing. You need
Right.
tools. And if you have your
Well,
toolbox full, it's all there. You pull a tool out. When you need a screwdriver, it's there. So you just grab it and pull it out.
exactly. You also need to have that right people to work with you with the whole process.
Yes, and that's one thing I talk about in the book as well. I went to a counselor and I interviewed 10 counselors over the phone before I decided which one I would go to because that's
Wow.
another thing. I want to empower you to know you're in
Hmm.
charge. This is your
Exactly.
life, this is your story, this is your journey. You're in charge. And just because they have a white coat and a doctorate degree doesn't give
Hmm.
them the power to choose for you. You choose. And my kids asked me one time, "Why do you what is it that you get when you go see Miss Kathy? What is it that Miss Kathy does for you?" And the way I explained it to them, they were little then, I said, "She's like a new pair of glasses. When I talk to her, she helps me see things more clearly. She can help
Wow.
me reframe it and see it where I'm not seeing it from my hurt and anger." And that makes a huge difference. And so that's really important. And it's really important to get your loved ones to have them be on board with you as well to help you
Hmm.
walk through it because you're gonna need that support. Or at least I did.
Exactly. Wow. It's just amazing. It's just amazing. Um, you know, Elizabeth, well, this is really amazing. This book of yours is really full of inspiration, a wonderful creation that I must say that will surely inspire, each individual to see new hope, new journey, an open heart for, for new possibilities, to discover the power of faith, to wow, to know one's purpose here on earth, love, sacrifices, most importantly, the relationship with God. Wow, I just love
Yes,
it.
and that's the title, Busy Rising from Brokenness. Even though you've been broken, and we've all been broken. If there is somebody out there that has not
Exactly.
had trauma, that has not experienced any hardships or anything, I want them to
Hmm.
contact me right away because we're going to write a New York Times bestseller because I don't know anybody who hasn't been through something. and,
Exactly.
and so this is beauty rising from it. The beauty can rise up from brokenness. And people ask me, they're like, "How did you heal that?" And I'm like, you can't, those cracks in my soul are so deep. They can't be healed. They're like the Grand Canyon. They can't be healed. But now God's light shines through them. And you think about a piece of glass or a stained glass, the different pieces and how the light reflects differently from them. Well, that's how when you heal that brokenness, God's light can shine through you and make a beautiful rainbow of colors that you can touch everyone with.
Wow. That is lovely, Elizabeth. Thank you so much for that. And yes, I also wanted you to, I mean, one last question. One last
Okay.
question now. What will you tell to people who would like to read your book? Or, um, okay, let me rephrase that. Let me rephrase it. What do you want your readers to take away after reading your book?
I want them to take away that healing is possible and that you don't have to live that way. It's not a death sentence. It's not a life sentence. You don't have to stay caught in that prison forever. And if even for somebody who hasn't been through a lot of traumas and doesn't believe they're dealing with things, you know people who are. So, I know so many people and I run into people every day. And many times I will just sign a book and hand it to them because it's about the message. I want to see them gain healing. I want to see people get healing. And if you've been through a trauma or you haven't been through traumas and you don't feel like you need it, think about those around you who might need this book, who might need to know that it's okay to walk through trauma and to heal it, to write about it, to share it, and to get it healed. So get a book and share it with your friends or your loved ones. It's so important. And for me, it's all about the message. It's all about
Ex-
the beauty that rises from brokenness. It's not about anything else. I just want to see, especially women, be able to talk boldly with other women about what they've been through and step out of the brokenness into the healing and the beauty.
Wow. It's just so priceless. Wow. I love that. I just love everything you said, Elizabeth. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for gracing with us today, this wonderful opportunity to share your experience, share your story with among as many people as possible. And thank you so much for that, Elizabeth, for also choosing us to be part of this journey. And yep, before I let you go, I wanted you to take this opportunity to also invite our viewers for your upcoming book signing. So yep.
Yes, I would love for you to join me at the LA Times Book Festival of Books. It is happening this coming weekend, April
April
20,
22nd to 23rd.
22nd and the 23rd. I will be there both days, all day. So you could come by anytime and meet
Wow,
me and talk to
amazing.
me. My husband and I are
Hmm.
just going to be there hanging out and having fun. I'll have a Beauty Rising from Brokenness shirt on, and so will he. So you can find us. And if you find him, he'll point you to me. But I'm not that hard to find. I'm everywhere. I'm the social butterfly. I'm the one that got in trouble in school all the time, that got sent in the hall for
Hmm.
talking to her neighbor. So I'll be there flirting around like a butterfly, doing what I do. But my book
I love
signing is
you.
going to be at 3 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. So I will be there from 3 until close, signing books and giving out bookmarks and cards and talking to
Hmm.
you about everything that we have going on. And I would just love, love, love to meet you. It would just be amazing. I love people. So that is just completely my element, being there in front of people.
Wow. Thank you so much for that, Elizabeth. So yes, everyone, for those of our viewers out there, yes, Ms. Elizabeth Clamon will be doing her book signing during the LA Times Festival of Book. And again, that would be happening this coming April 22nd to the 23rd in University of Southern California, Los Angeles, USC campus. So her time would be 3 p.m., right? For the
Yes.
first day. Okay. All right.
Yes.
So
No,
definitely,
the second day, Sunday. Sunday, the
okay,
second
second
day.
day. All right. Thank you
But
so
I'll
much,
be there both
Elizabeth.
days.
Absolutely, yes. So, everyone, for those who are watching, this is going to be your chance to know her as an author and, of course, what exactly her book is all about. Yes, and
Yes.
I'm sorry, Elizabeth, before we end the live, can you please show to our viewers your book?
Here it is, Beauty Rising from Brokenness. And the cover says it all. The beautiful
Mm-hmm.
monarch butterfly rising from the broken jar, held by the little
Wow.
girl whose life was broken. So it was very thoughtfully designed for a reason for
Mm-hmm.
this picture to be on it.
Wow, exactly. That is lovely. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. And yes, everyone, Dr. Elizabeth Clamon, author of the book Beauty Rising from Brokenness. So, again, her book is available in Amazon.com, Barnes& and Noble, and of course, you can also check her on her website. That is www.theclamongroup.com. And again, thank you so much, Elizabeth. And as we say it here in Reader's Magnet, we share your story with the world. Thank you so much, Elizabeth.
Thank you so much, Leah. And Reader's Magnet is amazing. If you have the opportunity to work with them, do it. They have been absolutely amazing.
Wow. We
I have
love you.
just been over the moon with everything. They are so great and just amazing. I can't even tell you. They're so responsive and follow up and emails, and I always know what's going on. And it's just Reader's Magnet has been amazing. And I mean, they're not the first company I've worked with in this 5 years that I've been on this journey. So they are the one that I will stick with now, though. I tell you that much because they have been amazing.
Wow, thank you so much for that, Elizabeth. We love you. We love you from all of our Readers Magnet family. Thank you so much. All right, bye
Thank
now. You
you. Bye
take
bye.
care. God bless you,
Thanks. You too. Bye
Elizabeth.
bye. You
Bye
too.
now.